Manchester City, the oil club that pretty much everyone hates, has had one big signing this summer, and now one player that has turned loved into now hated because it's Manchester City. Nonetheless, we're going to talk about the reigning Premier League champions and how we feel they could do in this upcoming season, as they have not secured a striker, and they say they don't have a striker. Meanwhile, Gabriel Jesus cries on the bench, but they will continue to push to win another Premier League title in this upcoming season. And I'll give it off to Lane here to give his thoughts on their summer and their upcoming season.
Well, you almost made me burst out laughing, but Harry Kane might be coming to the club, so the number 9 issue might be solved. But they've had a very up and down transfer window, losing the likes of Sergio Aguero, one of the best players ever to step foot in the Premier League, has left on a free to Barcelona. That was inevitable. Losing a potential Spanish national team center back in the future, Eric Garcia to Barcelona on a free. That is a very good transfer for Barcelona. And for me, he was inevitably going to leave. There's enough players at Manchester City at that position that already still want to go too. Losing Angelino and Jack Harrison on permanent deals after the loan spells, they are going to hurt the club, I think. But Harrison obviously want to leave. But for me, Angelino, unbelievable left back, one of the best in the world for me at attacking and getting forward. Not the best defensively, but he's still unbelievable attacking wise. And then City always complain they don't have a great left back. They have left back problems. They could have just brought Angelino back and not sold him, but that was their fault. And I do think that would have been a great player to keep at the club. But they have one hole. Let's keep it that way. And they lost Lucas Dementia, who is a great German talent, which I think will come to haunt them in future years to come. Bringing in Jack Grealish as their only key signing so far is it's up and down. I do think he isn't really the type of style for Pep Guardiola. Same with Harry Kane, but we'll get to that later. I do think Jack Grealish is still a good buy, but it is a lot of money. So fingers crossed it does pay off for Jack Grealish and Manchester City.
Yeah, it's definitely obviously it's Jack Grealish is a high caliber, high quality footballer, and you can't really go wrong adding him to your team, but you can definitely argue whether it was an overpay or whether that was where their money should be going, considering the fact that they still don't have a true striker that they are willing to play. Obviously, you mentioned Angelino leaving. Don't have a great left back that they're overly comfortable with. They obviously didn't like the performance that Benjamin Mendy just put out on the weekend. But nonetheless, that's the direction they've decided to go. And outside of that Grealish signing, as you mentioned, they haven't really brought anyone else in. They're still hoping to bring in Harry Kane, but whether that happens in the 2 weeks remaining remains to be seen. But if they don't bring him in, then obviously they still have some high caliber attackers, the likes of De Bruyne, Foden, Grealish, Mahrez, Sterling. There's still a lot of talent in that attack, but there definitely isn't an out and out finisher, an out and out striker. Gabriel Jesus is there, but apparently he doesn't exist. And so they just don't have that guy if they don't bring in Harry Kane. And I don't doubt that they're still going to be able to create a lot of chances. In fact, they might create one of the most, if not the most, chances in the league with all of those creative players. It's just going to be who's going to make those final runs, those final finishes. That what might be what's missing. Now, if they create enough chances, they'll be fine. And it's not going to be too different from how things were from a lot of last year when Aguero was injured. And they still made it out fine, whether it was Foden playing as a false nine, or whether it was De Bruyne playing up there, we saw Mahrez up there a little bit, they'll make it work. But it definitely isn't an ideal scenario. If they bring in Harry Kane, I don't think you can really make much of an argument other than the fact that Manchester City pretty much look poised to win the league unless some major injuries come in. But without it, it's definitely a bit more of an arms race. You could definitely argue there's a few teams that can fight for that title. And I think that's why Manchester City definitely want that striker to come in, because without it, I think you could argue that Chelsea, Manchester United, and Manchester City can all make a push for the title in this upcoming Premier League season.
Yeah, I think it's been a very interesting window. If you look at the likes of Jack Grealish and how they played this weekend against Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester City were a shambles. The back line were awful. They looked like they didn't know what to do and how to play football. And you saw them going forward with the likes of Jack Grealish, the likes of many of their other talented creative players. And Jack Grealish and the other forwards were creating loads of chances, driving into the box, putting balls in the box, but the chance they're creating had nobody on the end of it. And that is where you need a top class world nine, number 9 to finish those chances. And if you don't have one of those that can even like a Gabriel Jesus who would be at the right place, the right time to even be there to have the chance to score would really change how they would have played against Tottenham. And I do think they need a striker in the door immediately. But that being said, Harry Kane for 150 million. For me, I just don't understand where Guardiola is playing. Usually, we're used to this tiki-taka style of football, which has dominated the Premier League for Manchester City the past 5 years. For me, I just don't see how Jack Grealish fits the tiki-taka style of football. He's a guy who's going to be a flair player who's going to dribble the ball, who likes to take the ball on himself. Same with Harry Kane. He's a guy who just likes to shoot wherever he can, a guy who wants to score goals, and he just doesn't fit a tiki-taka style of play for me. Sergio Aguero did, Gabriel Jesus did once in a while, and it's just something rogue from Pep Guardiola that I didn't expect coming. And it will be very interesting to see if Jack Grealish and Harry Kane can fit the style of football, because I do feel that this is a year a Chelsea or Man United could easily slip in and win this league.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see with Grealish and, as you mentioned, Harry Kane, if he does end up at the club, whether the roles they've played and not necessarily naturally fitting that style of Manchester City football is due to their natural nature of play or due to the role they have had to play on the teams they've been a part of for the last few seasons. As you look at the player like Jack Grealish, he has been the guy for Aston Villa. He has created everything. Without him, their attack has been pretty much non-existent from a creative standpoint. Now, whether that is Jack Grealish's nature or whether that is what Aston Villa needed him to do and the coaching staff wanted him to do, I guess remains to be seen based on how he can adapt in Manchester City in this front half of the season. And the same could be said for Harry Kane if that move gets made. I don't doubt that they could potentially adjust. I think Jack Grealish could adjust a lot more seamlessly than Harry Kane does. But it'll be interesting to see how that adjustment works. I do expect this Manchester City side to take a little bit of time to get comfortable again. It was the same thing last year for them. The first 5, 6 games of the season for them definitely weren't great. They weren't scoring that many goals. They weren't even in the top half of the table, and then from there they just went on a run and no one could catch them. And I don't doubt that this season could be similar for them, but I completely agree. It is very much a sense of they have a lot of creative players. They get balls into the box, but then it's done, and there's no end product that is substantial enough to get those goals that they probably should for the chances they're creating, and that is definitely due to a lack of true number 9. That's definitely something Manchester City need. That's obviously something they recognize, but whether they're going to be able to capitalize on that could be very decisive on the end result of their season.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how City do fare, and depending on if they get Harry Kane and a number 9. But for me, I just feel like City will somehow win the title. It'll be a very close race, but I do feel like the likes of Chelsea and United will push them. These standings are based off of when we did start our season previews. Personally, I do think things have changed my opinion quite a bit. A guy named Romelu Lukaku has changed things quite a bit for my opinion. But I do think at start of our previews, I do have Manchester City winning the league and the title.
Yeah, as you mentioned, this is our predicted tables from when the season previews began, and we will update those in the coming weeks, most likely after the transfer window has ended, when we have a full evaluation of what we are going into for this Premier League season. But as of when we recorded these, Manchester City is also my team in first place. That could change now as the weeks move forward, as the transfer window continues to move. Whether Manchester City bring in the likes of Harry Kane or another striker or not will definitely play a part in that. I think Manchester City are going to be a very competitive side again this year. They're going to be fighting at the top. And as you mentioned, I think Manchester United and Chelsea will definitely fight a battle with them. I think it'll be a bit of a closer race than it was last year. It'll be very fun to see how the top of the Premier League goes this season, with Manchester City very much being a part of it. With that being said, let us know down in the comment section below what you guys think about this Manchester City team into this upcoming season. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you wanted to watch our other Premier League season previews, then make sure to click the box on the right-hand side of the screen. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys in the next one.